Party of Deux, règle 10 ouais.
Bonjour.
Bonjour.
This is the Quays here. First official episode here. As you know, you can tune in here every Friday. We'll be dropping new episodes, so please tune in. We have a lot to talk about.
Absolutely. And today we'll be actually discussing a movie that we saw. And I think for me, I felt strongly enough about it that, I mean, we had kind of, not even kind of, we have talked about starting this podcast. Like, this isn't like some overnight thing, but I think this movie like really pushed us forward because I just remember watching it and having a lot of thoughts and strong reactions about the themes. Like, my English major brain wouldn't allow me not to want to share my 2 cents more about this film. So low key, this kind of catapulted the podcast into getting off the ground. But today's feature is a movie called Magazine Dreams, starring Jonathan Majors.
Yes, yes, yes. Not a very heavily marketed movie, if I had to say. I mean, I saw a few advertisements for it, but like not heavily marketed. But however, though, it's art nonetheless. A lot of movies and fast food movies, what I call, general, intro, climax, well, intro, conflict, climax, resolution. This was quite different.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll get into that in a little bit. But where we saw the movie also plays into how our podcast is really going to work.
Yeah.
I know it sounds like we're all over the place, but I promise, guys, you're in for an adventure. We have adventures all the time where we travel and go to music festivals and go on vacation. And we want to bring you guys into all of that and talk about some of our favorite memories that we've created as a couple, as a married couple. And
Yeah.
eating out is a huge part of that. And we had the dine and recline experience at Alamo, one of my favorite niche movie theaters. I definitely like the vibe there.
I do too. Definitely gives me like tech startup vibes for
Tech, wow,
sure.
tech, that's very specific, but not wrong. Not wrong.
Like we're all cool and hip.
It's the nostalgia factor, you know.
Everyone wears like skinny jeans, cardigan sweaters, and Vans.
I don't know
In my
about
mind.
in my in my mind, I definitely see the skinny jeans and even the Vans.
Oh, cardigan sweater, guys. I mean, not cardigans, but the flannel, the button-up flannels.
I was thinking, okay, yeah, hipster.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
yeah,
Okay, yes, 100% for sure. Yeah, definitely retro shirts, Atari shirts, and stuff like that.
yeah, for sure.
For movie aficionados.
Vintage tees and shit like that, guys. So, but
Hmm.
it's definitely our thing because that's what we are. So
Yeah,
it's
we're the
definitely
target
like,
audience, I guess.
yeah, it's definitely like right up our alley. So keep in mind like we're in our 30s,
Oh, not me anymore. Thank
Oh,
you.
that's right. She's like old as fuck.
Wow.
But so keep going with that. But yeah, so just getting right into it, like we want to set the tone for you guys first. So with that said here, just want to set the tone right now. As you said, Alamo itself, very, very giving you hipster vibes. They have their own like unique, like, like craft beers and shit. So that should definitely give you like an idea. They have karaoke's inside the actual like what do you want to call it, like seating area or something.
I think they were having like a trivia night last night.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Trivia night. It sounds like karaoke. But they did have a DJ
I
there
don't
though.
I don't see I don't put it past them to do a good karaoke on any other night.
Yeah, then that nice little DJ in there, for people who want like, listen like, actually like enjoying a movie. So there's a lot of activities there you can do besides actually like watching a movie,
Hmm.
which is weird if you think about it. But yeah, so
Encourages people to spend more, I guess,
yeah,
you
that's
know.
true. Spend, go to the bar,
And we're gonna get
buy
to that in
something.
a little bit too, speaking of spend, and would definitely give you the nitty-gritty on how much we spent.
Yeah, speaking of that, the overall aesthetic of the place, like it has like vintage like VHS tapes and shit everywhere.
Yeah, it's the nostalgia factor. That
Yeah.
they're talking to our well, to whatever, our generation. Anyway, so getting into this food though, we'll start with the menu before we get into the review of the film itself. But starting with the menu, I definitely, again, talking about the podcast and blogging and vlogging in general, we have always talked about water reviews and tasting the water in different places.
Water matters, guys. It
Yeah,
matters. The water sets the tone. The water is the foundation of every meal that we have. So with that said, the water, you can grade the water. All water is not created equal.
it's really not.
This water, scale to 1 to 10, I mean 1 to 5, I give it a 2, honestly.
I'm more generous. I would give them a 3. It's not chalky tasting, but it's just like very
To me, it has
bland water.
a chlorine kind of taste to it.
It's not exciting.
I don't like that shit. So yeah, definitely points off for the water from not being honest. Furthermore, I did notice that also the the seats in the movie theater that have, like
Recline?
what's the thing you eat off of?
The tray?
Yeah, the tray. So each seat has a tray, its own individual tray. I was looking at each fucking seat, that had trays, and I noticed that each one of them had like this like sticky kind of like.
So they're not wiping it down properly.
I think I think it's past wiping it down at this point. I think it's just one of those things where like the tray has lost its like what do you want to call it, like the laminate to it.
Mm,
So it's like it's just bare wood, and the
mm.
wood is like eroded and shit. And so it's like kind of one of those things where it's like left like a sticky residue from like past visitors. And I don't give a fuck how much you wipe that shit down. The shit ain't going nowhere. So it's
Mm.
just kind of one of those things. It is what it is. It'll be clean. I don't fucking know. I tried to touch it.
Yeah, that's
Didn't try to touch it really, but
yeah.
get the point. I don't like that.
They're
So
yeah, they've been around for a while now. So now
the
my top tier dine and recline. And honestly, if it had been showing there, I would have preferred to go there, but it just Magazine Dreams is not showing everywhere yet.
yeah,
So what's that place in Cary?
I know what you're talking about. It's
The Paragon Theater. They're still brand new and shiny and nice. So,
yeah,
and I do prefer that the seats recline all the way back.
yeah.
That does matter. And also too, full disclosure, fam, y'all are about to be let into something I don't really discuss. I've done other podcasts, but I don't really discuss this part of my life in detail. I've probably mentioned it in passing, but I'm a fatty. Like, well, I'm I'm a ref, I'm a former fatty. In my head, I'm still fat, but like I still kind of navigate the world as that former fatty. So I say that to say, if you are a bigger person, those seats are not the easiest to squeeze into.
Mm.
Um, so just things to keep in mind, but I'm sure I would have been very comfortable at the Paragon as my former fatty self. But yeah, in this new body, it's not a challenge at all anymore, but it definitely was a challenge when I was bigger. I definitely had to like turn to the side and navigate to squeeze into the seats, and again, only for the whole chair. The back doesn't recline. You can just put your feet up. And these are very first world problems. Don't get me wrong. But it's just things for consideration, depending on what you like to have in your movie going experience. But
But it was comfortable nonetheless, though.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah.
But that water, I would give it a 3. It's just very bland water. So moving on to what we actually ordered, you had
So I started off with the Royal Burger. The Royal Burger. So interesting. So once I put the way it works is that you write down what you want on a sheet of paper, and then from there you bring the buzzard that's in front of your tray, and you just simply put the piece of paper inside the tray. The server comes and they take the paper, then they come back with their order, of course. Well, when I was putting my order in, I thought he was gonna come to me and ask me, "Hey, how do you want your burger?" Didn't happen.
no, you
First red flag.
should have specified, I guess, on that piece of
He didn't
paper.
fucking care because it's not a thing.
Probably not.
First red flag. So I was wondering, I was like, you sell burgers, but like I don't smell anything cooking in here. Like what's how's that work? Like you have a kitchen? Like do you have a stove? Like those are things that I wonder because like like who wants a microwavable burger or a burger that like you like put in like an air fryer or something, meat patty wise, I'm gonna have to pass on that shit. But anyway, so I get the royal burger. Keep in mind the menu was pretty elaborate though. Like I will admit that. We've been there several times, and the menu has expanded since the last time we went. That I did notice.
Has it?
Yes, it has.
Oh,
Um,
maybe they revamped it because people was complaining about the food, but the food's still terrible.
well, so yeah, I had the royal burger. It had just basic ingredients: tomatoes, lettuce, cheese. I think bacon was on it as well. And then it had the what do you call it, the buns?
Like a
The
brioche bun.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it had a brioche bun thing going on there. I immediately know that the patty was like baked or like broiled or some shit. You know what I mean? It
Mm-hmm.
definitely wasn't fried, like on a stove top. So I was like, bit into the burger itself. The bun was actually pretty good. Nicely toasted. I was like, oh, kind of surprised about that. However, the patty itself, dry.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's like kind of unusual for like, especially like if you were to bake a patty, like a beef patty. Like I haven't seen too many like dry baked beef patties, but nonetheless, it happened. So, but it was pretty much dry. The bacon itself was not done. Definitely was some spots there. We could have kept cooking on that. Um, the tomato that they sliced, that was the end part of the tomato, the butt of the tomato.
Mm-hmm.
So
I
I
don't
was
like
like,
that.
nah, because like it's basically like the stalk part of the tomato, so it's kind of hard to eat from the
That makes
beginning.
speaking of stalk, yeah, I definitely found that shit in my wrap. I was pissed. I found it today too, because it was dark, so you can't always see everything to kind of, you know, examine or inspect it. Yeah, dining in the dark is a daring experience.
Yeah, especially eating like a burger or like a wrap, because you want to see what you're eating and shit.
They have like some lighting, but
Not
not
enough to like,
sufficient.
yeah, and it's a movie theater, so like, what do you expect really? But I definitely broke my hamburger in half because I need
So
to
it's like
see.
the I saw you. I saw you.
Yeah, I need to see like what's inside. Like I need to see like how far did you cook this? Because I'm not gonna eat no raw beef and
I
shit.
saw that. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that makes
Uh,
sense.
yeah, but other than that though, guys, like it was just a regular
Basic ass
hamburger.
burger.
Yeah. The French fries was basic as fuck too. We gave me some ketchup, basic ketchup.
And to wash it all down,
To wash it all down, I had a frozen margarita.
was it watermelon or
I
strawberry?
think it was watermelon actually.
Yeah,
But it was pretty good though. Basic. I mean, don't get me wrong here, guys. Like it's bottom tier liquor. But it
you
got the
probably
job.
have like I think it would have been better too. I think you would have preferred it more if it had the sugar rim too, versus the salt rim. At least I don't. I'm not a fan of it.
Hmm.
Um, but it was cool. Okay. So for me, I had the grilled chicken Caesar wrap. Again, my experience with the food has not been the best. So I was trying to choose something that I felt like was something you could not fuck up. I was wrong. Um, it wasn't juicy enough. Like I wanted him to bring out more like Caesar dressing or something because it was quite dry. It seemed like there was more chicken, or excuse me, more lettuce than chicken or croutons. Like it seemed like the order was lettuce, croutons, chicken. Chicken had the least.
Hmm.
And I just I just felt disappointed. It does not come with fries as a side or any type of side. So I did have to order that a la carte as well. And then
Hmm.
I wrote down, I was like, well, okay, well, let me get some like queso fries. Because, again, I'm a former fatty, so I still eat like a fat girl. So I had this whole vision. I was like, okay, I'm going to get queso fries and put some jalapenos on it. And that's going to like jazz up these like usually pretty bland fries.
Yeah.
And so I ended up having to use the queso on my chicken wrap to like eat it, because it was so dry, and so it was not the greatest experience. I do not recommend that menu item. I have had the wings in the past, wasn't a fan of those, but Paragon has some really good wings. I ain't gonna hold you. Like, I've been thinking about those wings actually. But I just didn't want to choose something that I wouldn't enjoy. And unfortunately I didn't enjoy this. I ate half of the wrap, ate the other half today, and put some Italian dressing on it, or French dressing or something, to make it a little juicier and salvage it. And that's how I finished it up. And yeah, that was pretty much it. Oh, and I had a hard apple cider. And for that privilege of a meal that we just described, we had the privilege of spending a whopping, drumroll please,
$87.
87 motherfucking US dollars. Okay.
Keep in mind, burger, French fries, margarita, Caesar salad, chicken wrap, queso fries, jalapenos, and a hard apple cider. $87.
We could have gone to Applebee's beforehand. If we had managed our time better, we could have gone.
We could have gone to Capital Grill.
That's pushing your luck there, but I get it. Yeah, so $87, that's a lot of money. But whatever. The price is the price, is the price.
Mhm.
So,
And for the experience. So like thereof.
and of course the movie itself, I think we paid like $30 for the tickets. Which again, fine, whatever. Now you understand like why I'm a 5 and below gal, and I usually like to bring in my own book bag full of snacks and bubble gum.
Definitely will be doing that next time I roll up in there.
Yes.
So that's definitely happening.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, so moving on to the movie itself. We saw Magazine Dreams, and I wanted to look up this woman's name because I kept watching her the whole time, and I kept saying, damn, that lady looked familiar as fuck, and I cannot place her. And so I looked up the cast right before we started recording. Her name, as I mentioned earlier, was Jonathan Majors, who's starring. This is like his big comeback movie after all that scandal with him and his ex-girlfriend. And now he's married to Megan Good. Who would have seen that in there? I definitely didn't see them making it to the altar. That's like a whole other podcast episode, but whatever. I definitely understand the Oscar buzz, but the lady that I was talking about, her name is Harriet Sansom Harris. As soon as I saw the name, I still was like, who the fuck is that? I was lost. But then I looked at her IMDb page and I was like, that's where I know her from, Frasier.
Not my favorite show.
Baby, I love me some Frasier.
Ooh, so boring.
Oh my gosh. The humor, fantastic. And for those that do watch Frasier, she's BB Newworth, his manager. And she was definitely a lot of, I think, yeah, her voice was recognizable on the show too. And she was so starkly different in this movie that's why I couldn't connect the dots. Cause like she kind of has like on Frasier, she kind of has like this like witchy voice, which makes sense because like her character is kind of like this shrewd businesswoman. She's a snake, like she's willing to do anything to get the deal done, make her client happy. And so it would usually like have a conflict with Frasier's persona and who he wanted to be as a psychiatrist. But yeah, she just kind of had like this cratchety voice a little bit on Frasier. But she was much softer here. I didn't see any remnants of that. And she was his caseworker, essentially. So I'm gonna try not to spoil anything. I guess we'll make sure we put any spoiler alert disclaimers on here. But overall, the movie is about this guy who his goal is all he cares about is being on the cover of one of those fitness magazines. We've seen him in the grocery store. Those guys flex.
Wellness,
Mm-hmm.
those kind of magazines.
Get all oiled up and shit.
Yeah, he has dreams of being being on top of the mountain per se,
Mm-hmm.
as like one of the elite bodybuilders in the like of the world, I guess. Definitely like we explore some dark themes there, just in terms of like body image, like what one would do to like achieve the perfect
How far will
body
you go?
in someone else's eyes. Also, just like social fame, like social fame, social media fame, just in terms of like what one would do to go to be famous, on social media. Um, quite the fucking movie. I did not see any of that shit coming. I don't know what I expected of this movie. I really didn't expect anything. But pretty dark. Not gonna lie, overall pretty fucking dark. But it definitely, explores some heavy themes there, like like I said, body image, um, mental health was also a prevalent theme there, and I'll also say like innocence as well. Jonathan Majors' character, he was
What was his
right.
name?
Well,
Killian.
yeah, Killian Maddox.
Killian Maddox. Yeah.
What I like to say is that it was one of those themes where like the main character, like his mind was definitely corrupted, but his heart was pure. You could just tell the way that he spoke. That like, he definitely had seen some shit, but at heart he was still like a kid almost.
I definitely got that
Yeah.
gist of it. I felt like his growth stopped. Like I've used this term like just when we're talking and stuff quite a bit, like about people's arrested development
Yeah.
and like where they kind of stop growing mentally is when some sort of trauma happens. I think in his case had to do with the death of his parents.
Yeah.
I won't spoil it for you and say, how they passed, but they definitely passed away. And I have a feeling that that played a part in like where he was mentally because I think in the flashbacks he was pretty young.
Yeah. Yeah. He definitely was young. But
Living with his papa.
yeah, heartbreaking. But the movie starts off where Killian Maddox, that's Jonathan Majors' character, he is basically taking care of his ill grandfather, Papa. Papa is ill, but however, he has to look after Jonathan Majors, who's also ill mentally. So it's just two forces trying to, take care of each other here.
Vulnerable people.
Vulnerable members of society, honestly. That shit was heartbreaking. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, "Oh, sweet Jesus, bro." um, just seeing Jonathan Majors like character navigate through daily life, hard to fucking watch. I am not gonna hold you on that shit. Like I said, he had this thing where he wanted to be like, the top of like the totem pole when it comes to, bodybuilding. So he was reaching out to his idol. The like I said, dark
I
themes.
can't remember his name.
Me either.
Yeah, but he had a favorite
Bodybuilder
bodybuilder that he
followed religiously,
followed religiously. I
almost like
definitely was getting Stan vibes,
yeah,
like
for
Dear
sure.
Slim, you haven't written me back, blah 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 blah. Like it was definitely going for in that direction. Um,
Like the movie overall, like definitely like explore like the dark side of fandom, like for sure. Like
yeah.
yikes. And just like not like you like idolizing someone, not knowing who they really are. But then when you get to meet them, you realize that like there's nothing like you thought of in your head. So yikes. Um, yeah, overall.
Us on that theme, I could tell y'all about Brian McKnight. Fuck that guy forever. I've been knew he won't shit before before the whole scandal with him and his kids and him dismissing his kids, denying his older children. Yeah, I knew he won't shit a long time ago.
But yeah, so the movie overall explores some dark, like I said, some really dark themes.
What
Like,
standout scenes made it for you? Because there's one scene in mind for me that was like, what the fuck? Like, but also kind of relatable content as a woman during my single days, of course, but I'll get to that in a second. But what were there any standout scenes for you?
well, yeah, but in like different ways though, per se. One of the scenes that stood out to me was when he was talking with this social worker, Harriet Harris. When he was talking with her, he brought up a relevant topic, that like many black households talk about. He was saying, basically, he's a bodybuilder, so maintaining protein, that kind of thing, like it's really important to him. So he was just like, there isn't a grocery store within miles of my home. Like, do you think it's like meant to be that way? And I don't know
He's
if you
like,
gu-
do you think they do it on purpose?
yeah. And I don't know if you guys have like taken like sociology, like social work classes, maybe, whatever, lessons.
Or just lived in a black body your whole life, but go ahead.
Well, yeah, like studies have I know me doing like just studying sociology and social work, it's taught me, that like the way you may approach a client, like African American wise versus maybe a white American, two totally different extremes, in terms of approach, in terms of like preparing to help that person. And what I mean by that is, it's like, with African Americans, like we're like social work wise, like we're taught, you have to understand like what they're oppressed by. Food deserts, lack of resources such as healthcare, education, things like that. Like that plays a part like into who they are. And this social worker, when he was explaining to her, he was like, "Hey, like there's like no like grocery stores within miles of my home. It's just all junk food and convenience stores."
And liquor
And
stores.
her response was, "How does that make you feel? The fuck are you talking about right now?" Like it makes him feel angry, like for good reason.
Damn,
And
they're hopeless because how can he accomplish this goal and keep his body to the standard that he deems appropriate
yeah,
to reach this fucking goal?
yeah. Like I just thought she was trying to like psychoanalyze every fucking thing he was saying. I was like, bro, if some shit doesn't need a response. Some shit like you gotta just feel. But
She can't
again,
feel it.
not understanding the culture, you know what I mean? Like just didn't I think like social work wise, there was some opportunities there
Because
that
she
we
said, I
take
think her response was like,
capitalize.
who is they? So she
Yeah,
already doesn't understand, like,
exactly.
when we
Great point.
say they, we mean the man. Like,
Yeah.
it's understood. If you're talking to another black person, we know what the fuck is up.
Yeah, like she was
Uh,
asking who are they? How do you feel about that? Like, what the fuck are you talking about right now? Like, that's a weird question to ask. But again, her being who she is and him being who he is, it's a culture,
there's not a meeting of the minds there.
not at all. So, but yeah, but that was one scene that stuck out to me. Another scene, well, scenes that stuck out to me. Brody was in that bit speedballing, boy. That shit was crazy.
What scene is that?
Remember the scenes where like he would before he would get ready to actually work out, like he would stab him, he would inject himself with steroids and then he would do a lot of coke.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? He would just basically getting riled up
yeah,
to, put in some work. So that was just weird to see and shit. I was like, holy shit, this motherfucker in the bathroom
yeah.
getting at it, son. That shit is crazy work.
You think the women do that too?
Hell yeah. Like, hell yeah. I mean, it's a competitive sport, you know what I mean? Like you trying to be on top by all means. I mean, but kind of just like baseball or whatever, like, you gotta know that shit happens, like that's happening. It's
Mm.
it is what it is. I mean, hopefully there's rules against that shit. I hope they drug test these people now, something at the very least, but probably
Mm.
not though. Who gives a fuck?
Mm-mm.
So, it's not like baseball where, we have certain provisions in place. I think like at this point it's just nigga, as long as you get here and you look good, who gives a fuck,
Mm.
So, but it also plays a part to, being who he is too, though. Jonathan Majors, just unregulated sport, per se. Um, just trying to
I think it was like really important too for it to be like, because he could have been like on some like, I need my body to be great for this, is like something I didn't think about till just now. But he could have been like an athlete that was part of a team sport, but this was a very individualistic sport. This is only room for number one. It's no team dynamics involved where you can join a team and then like even like wrestling where it's like you have partners or a tag team or a collective or something like that. It's very individualistic, and interestingly enough, like we see evidence of him struggling being a loner,
struggling to find a human connection.
struggling to find a human connection. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
He was socially awkward like a motherfucker.
So that for me, so to answer the question, for me, the scene that stood out was that whole date. That shit was awkward as fuck. I felt
Yeah.
sis when she was like, first of all, honestly, if he would have asked me out, I would have been like, he's an odd duck. I would have listened to my first mind. But I kind of think that, like, low key, that's why it was important that number one, this role was played by a Black man. And number two, um, in addition to the role being played by a Black man, which there are some really sad scenes too, where he's like apologizing for taking up space as a Black man because he's scaring people because he's so big.
Yeah, talking about in the
Yeah, in the
in
beginning.
the grocery store,
Yeah.
with the white woman.
Yes. So that's why I was like, yeah, no, it was important. We'll get to like your thoughts about that later, how you initially saw that.
I mean, it plays to what I was talking about. Though, go ahead, though, continue.
But yeah, so he asks out his white coworker, and we find out that he is really, really fucking socially awkward. And even the way he asked her out was
Awkward as shit.
awkward, very hard to watch. But she's nice, probably because she's socially conditioned, because sometimes women are told, oh, just tell, just be nice, just see what happens, da 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 da. When she probably should listen to her first mind and told her something's off with this one. Maybe I should leave him alone and just pass up and leave it at where it was.
Yeah.
But they don't. She follows up with him and they go out on this fucking date, and yikes. Like, again, I'm not going to spoil it and say what happens on the date. But just know, ladies, like, we've kind of all been there, like, where the person we're on the date with is not asking us questions or engaging in conversation. They're just like, just focused, fixated on something. And in his case, he was fixated on the sport of wrestling. And I thought it was really funny too when he was just like, oh, you don't know who my favorite wrestler is? I forgot the guy's name. But he was like, you don't know who that is?
Yeah, bodybuilder.
Yeah, or favorite bodybuilder, excuse me. Yeah, and she was like, no, sorry, I don't know who that is, because she doesn't fucking follow bodybuilders. She doesn't know. Like, that's big in his world, but not in hers.
Yeah.
And he wasn't taking the time to get to know anything about her and who she was as a person. And it was just giving podcast, bro, because I feel like in real life, what would happen is there would be some guy somewhere that would get the girl to go out on a date, somehow get this girl to go out and agree to go on a date with you. And then she shows up, you spend the whole time talking about what makes you special, what makes you great, don't get to know anything about her, go home and have a completely different perspective about how great this date was. Meanwhile, she's praying that she never runs into you again, so that she has to tell you no, or tell you like, oh my gosh, like, I never want to see this dude again. She's on the phone with her girlfriends telling a completely different experience with a completely different lens. And when she doesn't return your calls, then it's, oh, all bitches ain't shit and they don't want a nice guy. Like, I don't know what I could have done better. She's just a gold digger. She just wanted free dinner. Some bullshit, whatever dumb lies these types tell themselves so they don't have to fix their own shit. That's relatable content. You ever been on an awkward ass date like that?
Not to that point, to where I saw it in the movie. Like, absolutely not. Because I would have been like, yo, I gotta leave, bro. Like, you're giving me like weirdo vibes here. But not to that point, no. But I've definitely been on some awkward dates to where, like, just didn't mesh well, that kind of thing. Not to the point where I thought they might like harm me, or like they may harm somebody else. No. No, that's not. No, I have not. I'm not. Hope no, not at all.
Okay, so when we left, this conversation that we had after we left the movie theater is what made me say, oh, we have to record this. Like, because I feel like other people might look into it and have similar ideas or insights. And that's why I was like, no, we need to make sure this podcast comes out. This will be our first one, and then we'll go from there. But when you left the theater, how did you feel?
Yeah, so I just want to elaborate on my feelings here in terms of how I felt. As I told you guys earlier, the movie had some main themes, dark themes, in the movie, but also had some underlying themes as well, I thought. And the underlying themes is what kind of got me. The movie overall was a work of art. I'm not debating that. Definitely not a fly by night kind of movie. Definitely something that someone took time to write.
To develop the characters.
Yeah, like the characters were dynamic characters. They weren't flat characters. Like it was definitely a well thought out fucking script. Kudos. And so overall the movie was good. What
Scale of 1 to 5.
1 to 5, I would give like a 4. Like it wasn't a bad movie.
Okay.
Not at all. Not a bad
You
movie.
could see Jonathan up there at least nominated, maybe
For sure, for sure. Like
for a couple of different things.
if people appreciate art, but you know how that works nowadays. But yeah, overall, like he definitely should be nominated for something for that shit. For him to get in that character, that shit took time. You know what I mean? Like to understand who he needed to be, and like in order to like accurately portray that character's like story, like you had to like study some shit. So with that said, you can't be Jonathan Majors. Jonathan Majors playing a fucking bodybuilder. Like, it's not gonna work. So kudos. But like I said, it definitely had some underlying things. One thing I did notice, as we alluded to earlier, where he was in like there was a specific scene where he was in the grocery store and this older white lady was beside him and she felt uncomfortable. He was big, he was black. So she was like, inching over, away from him and holding her purse. And then when he realized it, he just said, "Oh, I'm sorry." Like that shit broke my heart. Cause I was like, bro, you didn't do anything to her. Fuck her, bro. Like, you just fucking living, bro. Like that's it, bro. Like, don't say sorry for living, nigga. Like you didn't do anything to her, you didn't talk to her. Like, nigga, fuck her. But and that's what I didn't like about it, because I was like, that shit reminded me of like, oh, here come a nigga, you know what I mean? Like King Kong come to fuck everybody's day up and shit. Um, because nobody he interacted with was like black, and then the black people he did interact with him, like they knew he was fucking weird, so they were laughing at him and shit. And like that shit happens, bro. It fucking happens.
Yeah.
Like I seen like black kids, like high school, college, who were like they didn't quite fit in with us, and like you knew it,
I will say I have more hope for this generation in the
Oh, for
future
sure.
now. And speaking of that, when I was watching the whole movie, I honestly, based on how he was dressed and the things that were happening, I was like, what the fuck year is this? I kept thinking like we were in 1992 or 1993.
That fucking leather coat, bro.
Yeah, it was a coat. It was like he had on a windbreaker of some kind, and it just like was giving me
I
like
couldn't tell what was a windbreaker or a leather coat, honestly.
I thought it was like 1993, 1994 easily.
But then he started.
But then when I seen the computer appear with Google and
Instagram
he was
shit.
on YouTube and shit, and I was like, oh, I guess it's 2000 something. Like,
Yeah.
and I think somebody else like was and like even the cars like were like old new cars, like you know what I mean, like because he was driving Papa's car around. That shit was clean, but I mean, of course, Papa's car would be clean though. You know,
it was a Caprice, like a 1996 Caprice.
that's what I'm saying. That's what I thought he was
I was like, oh shit.
So I was like, okay, but all right, fine.
Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of interesting, but yeah, no, we were, I guess, supposed to be in present day, fine. And so, yeah, but to your point, yeah, he was apologizing for taking up space, and like I said, I have more hope for the kids now that they're less likely to be on that type of time. I think we're slowly evolving to accept and be more
All
inclusive.
different shades of like black and all different shades of like, mindset when it comes to like what black is. I think we're like evolving, especially the kids today. Like my generation, millennials, like we could be kind of harsh, especially with something that like didn't look like
We
us
don't understand.
we didn't understand. I have hope for this generation, so that's really wonderful. But anyway, though, so he didn't quite fit in with like with the black community around him, and I think that also like what pushed him to like talk to white women as well. But nonetheless, though, so yeah, I think there was an underlying theme there, like King Kong, here comes King Kong, fucking for everybody's day, because like you notice that like everybody he fucked up or like had an impact on life wise was fucking white. And let's face it, he didn't impact them like in the most positive way. But keep in mind, those white people, they fuck with him first though, bro. Like it wasn't like on some like he was just randomly going out like fucking with these white people and shit. Like no, like they fuck with him first, you know. Well, maybe.
Yeah, there's a couple of people that wasn't necessarily warranted, or like the degree
Yeah.
of his actions didn't match their actions. No. But I will say again to whoever wrote this point, like, or I think the points that they were trying to make is like, that's like, because the reason I'm bringing this up is because when you left the movie theater, you were like, you felt like initially that this could have been played by a non-black actor, like it could have been a white person. But I was like, no, I think it had to be somebody that was black because number one, this whole like theme of power and like power dynamics of like having this black guy who is powerful and beautiful, he's a beautiful specimen, being judged by like very imperfect specimens. Um, he wants to be seen as, you know, he wants to be seen as an idol. And in his room and stuff, like all the people he was idolizing were like white people too, you
It
know?
was the same guy.
Yeah, it was the same guy, like just the same guy that it was his favorite bodybuilder.
Yeah.
Like he's idolizing this view of perfection,
Blonde
but then
hair,
actually
I
being
wonder.
judged by imperfect people. You think about the old lady in the grocery store, you think about the actual judges at these competitions whose bodies are less than perfect. That comes in completely relevant later,
Yeah.
without spoiling it for you guys. But again, it's just like, I feel like the reason he had to be black is because he's been put down by a group of people that are in power consistently, and then he reaches a breaking point where he cannot take this shit anymore. And when he does have a shift of power, um he really leans into it and scares the other people to the point where they're just like basically representing what I think in real life what white people are afraid of. Like if we get reparations or get any sort of payback for um all the wrongs that they've done to us
Yeah.
as a people, as black people. And it's like, oh, if we do that and we exert a little bit of power over them or even a portion of it, even though it's well deserved, they're afraid that that could happen. So they don't want to give us any power because, you know, we might exert it. That's it. That's all. That's what I was like, no, it had to be played by a black man, not to mention the whole theme of legacy with Papa, because he mentions that Papa was in
Vietnam.
Vietnam and he's a hero. And we know Vietnam was a shit show. And even just how black soldiers have been treated in this country. So no, like even his reaction is still in the final scene of the movie and how he decides to exert his energy, and you see like this whole sequence, this whole kind of like leading up to how he becomes how he be, you know, like what his thought process is. When you get to the end of that, even how he handles it is still opposite of how we've seen white boys handle things when they go postal and shoot up schools and shoot up anybody that's wronged them. Like it's it had to be played by a black man. That's all I'm gonna say. Again, without trying to get too much away.
Even if he decided to shoot them niggas, like I wouldn't have been too hurt by that shit, honestly though. Like, bro, okay, we get it. Like, you know, like it wasn't like he was shooting innocent people, my nigga.
Yeah,
Like
but see now we start getting into the whole idea of like what's innocent. Like we're all imperfect, you know,
no,
like we've all
I mean
fucked
people that
up.
like directly wronged him.
Okay, well,
Like that's what I mean. You know, like we've not to get on a tangent, but we've seen like you know, mass murders that like of people who like don't even know this but other person, like
yeah.
people wise, like no connections whatsoever. Um, he was on a different on a different journey. Definitely, we're not like innocent nobody people that he didn't know.
Or random people,
yeah,
just
like
unconnected people.
these people definitely had a like play in his
Connection
like
or role in his life.
yeah. So
He
not saying
definitely,
that it's right, but I understood it.
you know what, too? Invisible Man. That theme definitely came up multiple times.
Yeah.
The Invisible Man. Yeah, it absolutely had to be a black person. Very intentional. Very, very well done. Very well done. I would definitely give this movie, I would give it a 5.
Mm.
My English major brain could write a great paper about this and analyze the fuck out of this movie. So yeah, I would say I was entertained. However, I'm with you when I say I will not watch it again. It's just a little too heavy.
I mean, it's just one of those work of arts where like it's so profoundly done that like it gets you in your emotions. Like you know how
For
you
Color Girls and
yeah
those type of movies or Precious, like
yeah
I'm
like
cool.
it's so gripping that you're like, oh no, bro, like that's it. Like
Yeah.
it's like, you know what I
Not an
mean.
indicator of, how
The
good
movie
it
itself,
is.
yeah, no,
It's
no, no,
just
no, no.
it's just heavy. It's just one of those movies. It might be a little too heavy.
Like you don't need to watch it 100 times to get that shit. You know what I mean?
Mm-mm.
Like you're gonna get it like in one swoop, and you just go, oh okay, like great movie. Just want to watch it again.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Agreed.
But overall though, like I said, I'll give it a 4. Compelling, gripping, profound. Well written. Characters are fully developed, dynamic characters. Has some dark tones there that were well thought out and developed. Has some underlying tones that were well thought out and developed as well. The story itself made sense. It connected. Didn't have to use too much force. I don't think I used none at all. So overall, yeah, 4 or 5. There you go. Jonathan Majors, I think he's back. And I like the kind of movies he does. Like he does a lot of movies where like it's art, like it's not like Fast and the Furious or some weird shit. You know what I mean? Like even if he wasn't do
Well,
that, like I
even
totally
except
get
for
it.
Creed though. Creed was like
Yeah, Creed was definitely one of those kind of movies, but
Creed was box office draw for sure.
for sure. This right here, not so much box office, but um, then again, like real art, doesn't really sell until
Yeah. Yeah, it
others
was
hear about
definitely empty in our theater. It was probably like maybe 4 or 5 other people in their tops. But granted, this was a Monday night.
it. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
in all fairness. Yeah. So, if you enjoyed today's episode, definitely check us out for the next one. New episodes every Friday. Will we be talking about travel? Will we be talking about movies? We don't know. We don't know. We're just vibing out here, guys.
Give the people something to look forward to or to play. What is your top 2 travel destinations?
Oh man, that's really put me on the spot. I don't together or just ever in life.
Just ever in life that you've been to so far?
Okay, I'm gonna go with Trinidad.
Oh,
I
okay.
had a really good time. I was I was still single. I was still Miss Okway at that time, not
Wow.
Mrs. yet. Um, but I had a really good time. And the only reason that's honestly top of mind is because that lady's trending on the internet talking shit about pooping in the cemetery. So like Carnival is like at the front of my brain right now. It's we're still in March. And so yeah, Carnival brain Soca wash is still a thing. Soca brainwash is still a thing. Trinidad and Ghana. Anytime I've gone to Ghana,
Hmm.
but I especially had a good time with you. But 2019 before COVID, that was probably I've been to Ghana 3 times in my life, and yeah, I would say Ghana is the other top destination. So I'm sure we'll talk about some of our adventures there, but
Yeah, for sure. Um, Top 2 destinations for me. Number 1, well, not even like in like order, but Ghana is definitely up there. Ghana is one of those things where, first of all, like you don't realize like how many like white people you're surrounded by, like in America, until you go to Ghana, and then you're like, oh, everyone looks like me, wonderful. Like you're not on edge so much. Um, Secondly, um,
I guess probably feel invisible in a good way.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Secondly, Ghana is one of those places where like anything is possible. Anything is possible. Anything.
Don't emphasize that. People gonna think we swingers or something like that.
Okay, well, I'm just saying, like, if you want
That
to
we out
journey
here
there,
paying our way for some weird kink or something. I don't know. We not on that type of time, y'all. We're not.
not at all. But
Not shaming you if you are, but
yeah,
that's just not
no.
us.
But just saying that like anything's possible here. I was surprised at like what you can get accomplished by a few bucks. Like I said, not on the like swinger sex type shit, but just know, like,
Business. Okay.
yeah, it's
And the other place?
the other place I would say would have to be probably Barcelona.
Okay.
I love the vibes there, like nighttime like vibes and like the midday vibes. Chill as fuck midday, nighttime we turned up and everybody was turned up with you. And it won't like America, where like you're kind of worried about, nighttime vibes. Oh, I'm like, is this safe?
Mm.
Barcelona, it was pretty much like, yeah, it's safe, bro. Have at it. Not to mention, the marijuana is like top shelf and it's like legal. So I fucking love that shit. Shout out to G13.
Oh
So
wow, you remember the place and everything.
yeah.
I do not. Okay, all right.
So yes, if you ever, in Barcelona, you want to stop to G13, there's a little strip there as well. I forgot what the strip is called, but they got a couple of bars there. Believe is one of the bars. It's just like a drag like nightclub. Really good music, really good food.
You remember the names of these? Damn, you're good because I do not remember these places. Like I don't remember the names. I definitely remember being there, but okay.
Yeah, I remember like it was like cobblestone like everywhere.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool. But yeah, so check us out,
Yeah. Just a little taste.
every Friday we're gonna drop new episodes. So check us out. Like I said, we're on all streaming platforms and we're also if you want to check out our, socials, check out Instagram, TikTok, um, Facebook. We'll be
And
posting
YouTube, yeah.
and YouTube,
So
yeah. YouTube.
Party of Deux, and that is PARTY_of_DEUX.
That is it. That's all we have. So at this point, I would say stay dangerous.
All right, safe travels, guys. Bye.